What if everything you've been told about money was designed to keep you average? What if the system you trust was never built to make you rich? Think about it. You go to school, you study hard, you get a job, and somehow, you're still stuck, still stressed, still trading your time for money that never feels like enough. Now here's the real question. What if there's another way? A completely different way of thinking that separates the rich from everyone else? Two fathers, two completely opposite beliefs about money, and one decision that changed everything. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't see money the same way again. This is the story of a young boy, a boy who grew up with two father figures. One was his real dad, highly educated, respected, a government employee. He believed in security, a steady paycheck, a safe life, no risks. He would say things like, work hard, get a good job, save money. And for most people, that sounds right. But then, there was his best friend's dad. No fancy degree, no prestigious title. In fact, he didn't even finish high school. But he had something else, a completely different mindset. He would say, don't work for money. Make money work for you. At first, it didn't make sense. How can money work? IT's just paper, right? But that idea changed everything. The boy started noticing something. His educated father worked harder and harder every year, but still worried about money, bills, debt, expenses. No matter how much he earned, it was never enough. On the other side, the uneducated father was building businesses, buying assets, taking risks, and slowly, he became wealthy, not overnight, but consistently, predictably, powerfully. That's when the boy realized something shocking. IT's not about how much you earn. IT's about how you think about money. A mindset shift, core message. Most people are taught this. Go to school, get a job, work hard. But here's what they don't tell you. A job makes you money, but it also makes you dependent. You are trading your most valuable asset, your time, for something that can be taken away. Think about it. If you stop working, your income stops. That's not freedom. That's a system. And you're inside it. A deep explanation. Why people stay stuck. So why do people stay stuck? Why don't they break free? The answer is simple. Fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of failure. Fear of what people will say. From a young age, we're retrained to avoid risk. Play it safe. Don't make mistakes. Be realistic. But here's the truth. Everything you want is on the other side of risk. The rich understand this. They don't avoid fear. They use it. Assets versus liabilities. Expanded. Now let's talk about the biggest game changer. The difference between rich and poor. Assets versus liabilities. This is where everything becomes clear. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. Sounds simple, right? But most people get this completely wrong. They buy expensive cars, thinking it makes them rich. They upgrade phones every year, thinking it's success. They live in big houses they can barely afford. But those things don't make you rich. They make you look rich. And there's a big difference. Rich people, they focus on assets first. Businesses, investments, income streams, things that pay them again and again, even when they're not working. Realization moment. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, and money has already hit your account. You didn't go to work. You didn't trade time. It just came in. That's not a dream. That's how the wealthy live. Because they built systems. Education. Truth about school. Here's another uncomfortable truth. School doesn't teach you how money works. It teaches you how to be an employee. Follow instructions. Meet deadlines. Work for someone else. But it doesn't teach how to invest, how to build a business, how to create cash flow. So you graduate with knowledge, but no financial intelligence. And then you wonder why life feels hard. Emotional build, relatability. Maybe this sounds familiar. You work hard every day. You try your best. But at the end of the month, there's nothing left. Or worse, you in debt. And you start thinking, maybe this is just how life is. But it's not. You were just never taught differently. Shift, taking control. The moment you understand money, you take back control. You stop working just for survival and start building for freedom. You begin asking different questions. How can I create income? How can I invest? How can I build something that grows? That's when everything changes. Passive income, expanded vision. Let's talk about freedom. Real freedom. Not just weekends. Not just vacations. But complete control over your time. That comes from passive income. Income that doesn't depend on your daily effort. It could be a business, stocks, real estate, digital products. The source doesn't matter. The principle does. Money working for you. Mental transformation. At this point, you start seeing the world differently. You notice opportunities. You stop spending blindly. You think long term. You stop asking, how much does this cost? And start asking, how much will this make me? That shift is everything. A truth bomb, powerful delivery. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You're not poor because you don't work hard. You're not poor because you're unlucky. You're poor because you were never taught the rules of money. But now, you are. Closing, strong, slow, emotional. So now the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you go back to the same routine, the same mindset, the same system? Or will you choose differently? Will you start learning, start building, start thinking like the rich? Because one day, you'll look back at your life and you'll say one of two things. I spent my life working for money. Or, I built a life where money worked for me. Final CTA, high energy. If this changed how you think, don't ignore it. Act on it. Subscribe now. Because this is just the beginning. Your journey to financial freedom starts today.